Hello and welcome to the next learning module on experimental film. In this tutorial, I'll provide you with a definition of experimental film. We'll look at some experimental film techniques and different styles of experimental film. Let's start with the definition for experimental film. Experimental film is defined as the filmmaking style that deviates from conventional narrative structures and techniques. It's also known as avant-garde cinema. Some of the characteristics of avant-garde cinema and experimental film are that they are usually non-narrative. There's more attention to the film form than the content, usually low budget and short films, and involve many different experimental filmmaking techniques. Let's take a look at some of the different experimental filmmaking techniques, starting with what's known as film create. Now, the film create process involves directly scratching or painting or even gluing small objects on new or unmarked film stock to create abstract textures and patterns. Along with this, there's the process known as film destroy, which involves taking existing film footage and altering it by scratching, painting, or bleaching, or decomposing, or even warping its structure to produce unique and odd images. A technique known as optical printing involves creating multiple exposures of the film, layering images, and creating new visual compositions, as you can see in this example from the film Ballet Mécanique. Pinhole photography involves using a pinhole camera to create unique and sometimes abstract images, as you can see in these images here. Glitch art involves deliberately manipulating digital files or capturing analog file artifacts to create a glitch-like aesthetic. Let's now take a look at some of the different types of experimental film, starting with the absolute film. The absolute film is defined as a completely abstract film focusing on the form and patterns of image in cinema. A classic example of this is the film Mothlight by Stan Brakhage. The surrealist film is characterized by how it manipulates time, space, and material objects according to a dreamlike logic. It often involves direct mocking of narrative films and is meant to shock and bewilder viewers. An example of this is the classic Un Chien Andalou by Luis Buñuel and Salvador Dali in 1929. Then there's the psychodrama or trance film. These films use symbolic action and detail to express an internal or psychological state. An example of this is Maya Deren's 1943 Meshes of the Afternoon. Compilation or found footage films use existing film footage to create new ideas and concepts. One of the earliest examples of this was a film by Bruce Conner in 1958 called A Movie. Bruce Conner took existing film footage from different films and cut them together, relying on the Kuleshov effect, to produce a completely different film that had a different meaning that was intended in the original film footage. These compilation or found footage films are the precursors to what we know today as the mashup film. Structuralist films are films that emphasize the regular structure and patterns of filmmaking as the main point of the film. An example of this is Michael Snow's 1978 Wavelength, where the entire film is shot from a static camera position that slowly zooms in on a picture on the wall in the apartment. Underground cinema was part of the counterculture movement during the 1970s and 80s, where these films were shown in small movie houses in places like New York, San Francisco, and Los Angeles. These films can be of any style or any type that have a cult audience appeal. They're also known as midnight movies. An example of this is the film El Topo by Alejandro Jodorowsky in 1970. This concludes the tutorial video on experimental film. It's now time for you to move on to the short film clip viewing assignment.